I cannot tell you why, but the first time I tried to record this video, I was messing my words up. It was awkward. So this is just a take two. We're running it back, and we're going to talk about Kansas State football in today's video. First of all, what's up? I'm Joe. I make videos about the Cats. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk some football things going on in the community. Specifically, one report I saw today that I want to mention because it led me down the path of thinking about how this type of stuff is generated, where it comes from, and the cool things that it means for Kansas State. So, quick reminder to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like K-State football, K-State basketball, K-State athletics, or if you just enjoy looking at me, don't let that be the reason. But if you do, you're more than welcome to subscribe to the channel. It does help me out immensely, and I'm grateful to get to talk to you guys about Kansas State athletics each and every chance I get. In today's video, let me get you right to the topic at hand. I saw a report. I've got it pulled up over here, so if you see me looking off to the side, that's why. It's a report from the College Football Report. Shouldn't have said report as many times as I did, but it is what it is. And it's basically going through saying the projected regular season win totals for each team in the Big 12. Not just from College Football Report. This is from FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm not sure if it's an updated look, like they've already released odds and they updated them, or if this is their first, post of each team. But it ranked our teams 1 through 16 in the future Big 12 of which team should get how many wins. What are you betting on? Over, under? What's the case there? Starting off, I saw a big pop-up picture of Avery Johnson. If you didn't see it, it's sunshine ripping the pigskin. That's what it is. You look through, and Kansas State is getting a ton of respect at the top of this list. We'll talk about everything and more, but let me start at the bottom here and run my way up through before I dive into my thoughts about K-State and the over-under play a little bit at Kansas State. The lowest projection for over-under win total in 2024, you've got BYU, Arizona State, and Houston all checking in with 4.5 over-under. Following them, you've got Colorado, Cincinnati, and Baylor at 5.5. West Virginia, the lone man at 6.5. Then you jump into the 7.5 range with Iowa State, TCU, and Oklahoma State. The top 5 or 6, you've got UCF, Texas Tech, Arizona, and Kansas, all at 8.5. And then the top 2, the big dogs, you've got Utah and Kansas State at 9.5. Now, the immediate thought here, like you look through this list, the top 5 or 6 teams all have quarterbacks where you'd say this is a top 5 quarterback in the league. You could see a very easy path to them being first team, second team, whatever the case is. That's the type of guy you see. That being Avery Johnson, Cam Rising, Jalen Daniels, Noah Fafita, Baron Morton, and KJ Jefferson. Obviously, there's not a ton of tape in terms of Big 12 football for Avery Johnson. Obviously, Cam Rising hasn't played in the league yet. Noah Fafita hasn't played in the league yet. Baron Morton's played, but hasn't had a ton of time. UCF's quarterback, KJ Jefferson, just transferred from Arkansas. Jalen Daniels is kind of your only guy that's really had many minutes, and even he's had limited exposure. The top 5 or 6 teams on the list are getting a lot of love in the quarterback department. What I love about this, Kansas State listed at 9.5 is huge. That is a ton of wins. Folks, there is 12 games in a season. Non-conference regular season, I know we all know this isn't breaking news, but that is assuming we lose 2 games, max, regular season. That's assuming we lose 2 games to hit the over here. I myself am not a huge futures guy because I don't have that kind of self-control or patience. I'm like, all right, $50 here, I want to see it now. I don't want to see it, months down the season. But now I'm a big DraftKings guy. I haven't used FanDuel just because, I don't know, it's just the first one I use is DraftKings, and it's worked out pretty well. So they looked like the first book that got all of theirs out. They went through each conference and looked through their starting finish of who's going to finish where and what the over-unders are. And with the Big 12 conference, I didn't see it on FanDuel. I didn't see it on ESPN Bet or any of the others. I did some double checking. I'm obviously not signed up to like MGM or anything like that, but I did look into all of them to see, and the only one I could see was FanDuel. So if you're looking for a place to bet on these, it is over at FanDuel. Now, last season I did place a future. I placed a bet on the over for Oklahoma State because I think it was at 6.5. I think it was 6.5. It could have been 5.5 even, but it was criminally low for what they were going to do. Realistically, it just was. Like, Mike Gundy's team wasn't going to win. They were going to go 5-7. At least, that's what my mind's drawing to right now. Obviously, it went on to work out, so I was happy for that, but I have a tough time looking at teams that have that 8.5, 9.5 over and say, oh, it's got to go over. Like, as a fan who I'm like, hell yeah, it's all about the Cats. We're rolling with the Cats, baby. Of course it's over. I mean, we're getting 12 wins. I'm not worried about that. But the money side of me, you need 10 wins for this to hit. You need 10 wins. Assuming you go 10-0, you're still not seeing that payday till December. And I know myself, patient-wise, I'm not about that. So I will probably stay away from putting the over on K-State. I'm not betting the under because that's ridiculous. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not praying on anybody's downfall. But you look across the board, there's probably some plays you could find in there. I think West Virginia at 6.5 is curious. I like that play a little bit. I weirdly have a feeling that Baylor's going to figure out a couple of games because I really like Daquan Finn. But I wouldn't really I'm not putting my mortgage on anybody specifically. I think West Virginia would be where I lean. With Kansas State, if you're going to play it, I want you to do your research. I want you to look at this because I think it's a really great thing to see K-State getting as much love as they are. Because here's the deal. Am I jumping the gun to say Avery Johnson's going to be the best quarterback in the Big 12? Yeah, sure. But what have I seen that's going to prove me wrong yet? Dude is a dynamic playmaker. He's got the arm of, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like, the dude can absolutely play. You see these reports with Mahomes and Purdy and guys talking about, like, Jalen Hurts, I should also toss out there, what the Big 12 has done to the NFL ranks and how the Big 12 quarterback has made its mark in the NFL. Avery Johnson looks like the next guy to see that. Obviously, I'm sure Cam Rising will go. Jalen Daniels, if he stays healthy, someone will take it, get him early. Noah Fafito will go. There's different guys across the board that could be successful Big 12 quarterbacks in the NFL. But Johnson looks like that next dude. I mean, he's gotten so many great comps, so many great compliments already. Comps being comparisons, not compliments, but he's gotten both already. Avery Johnson looks like that dude. Now, I know that, you know that, all K-State fans, we know that. We know what Avery's going to do. We expect Avery to be incredible, to be a Heisman-type player. We all know that. What I'm surprised by is that the sports books were jumping on that as soon as they are. I kind of pegged K-State to be in that 8.5 range. I feel like sliding us down a little bit to Kansas, Arizona, Texas Tech, UCF. Not saying in a tier list function that's where we belong, but just from a sportsbook perspective, that's where I'd probably go. Because I don't know that you'll have a ton of people enticed about the over on 10 wins, at 9.5 wins versus 8.5 wins. That being said, they place all their lines based on what they can win the most money off of, so it makes sense as a business model. But when you look at K-State's schedule, and I hope this tone isn't coming across negatively, as like I'm preying on their downfall or saying we're not going to win 10 games, because damn, we're winning 12 games. We're going 12-0, college football playoff, win the national championship. It is what it is. That's what's going to happen. But I just want to walk you through this because I think it's a really interesting concept. So if we're going on the 9.5 over, if we're going to place the over, this is what you have to expect in the season. There's 2 games that you could possibly lose at a bare minimum to hit this over. There's 3 games I'd look at and say that could be a loss. Maybe 4 games, but for the sake of this, you have to at least have 2. Versus Arizona, that's in Manhattan. That's a great sign. It's in Manhattan. It's either going to be on a Friday night or a Saturday night. That's your 1 game. Oklahoma State coming to Manhattan on September 28th. That's your 2nd game. Assuming you can take care of West Virginia in Morgantown, and that is a huge assuming, at Iowa State is probably my 3rd game that I question. So you look at this. If you're going to take the over on that, you're going to go 3-0 non-con against UT Martin, Tulane, and Arizona. That's at Tulane and then at home against Arizona. Then you travel to Provo. You take on Oklahoma State in Manhattan. Then you go on a big schedule away game, including a bye week, as well as 2 straight away games. Then you come back to K-State about a month later after that Oklahoma State game. You go to Colorado, to West Virginia, come back home against Kansas in the Sunflower Showdown. Then it's at Houston, back home against Arizona State and Cincinnati, and then you wrap up on the road in Ames. In theory, I placed my prediction. If you haven't seen that video already, I think I said either 10-2, maybe 9-3. I forget off the top of my head. So obviously, if it's one of those two, it doesn't help you a ton in this conversation because that's just both sides of the bubble. But you can definitely go check that out in this. I'll try to link it here if I remember. If not, I apologize. Just know it's there on my channel. You can check out my season prediction. It was a couple weeks ago. But I mostly wanted to make this video because if you're going to bet on this, I mean, I would probably put my money on a West Virginia team or on a Texas Tech team. Like Texas Tech avoids everybody good, plays maybe one game that's like a 50-50 toss-up, and then everything else is on the schedule. The reason I make this video, and it's not just to educate you about whether to take K-State over or under on the season win total, I just wanted to specify how incredible it is to see Avery Johnson and the Cats get this much level of respect already. I mean, you think about it, last year, coming off of a Big 12 championship, you have Will Howard returning, you have a solid receiver core on paper, obviously, hit or miss towards the season. You had Ben Sinnott, an All-American tight end, coming back. You had the best offensive line in the Big 12, a solid defense coming back. I think our over-under total was listed at 8.5. This season, you lose Will Howard, you lose a couple of guys in the backfield, you lose a couple of guys at the receiver position. Obviously, none of them really affected the lineup a ton. Obviously, Will had the most production, but you have Avery, so that's not a loss. You lose Trayshawn Ward, but you feel good about DJ. You feel good about the depth. You lose some guys like Nate Matlack that are just functional pieces that are really solid players and good guys, but just didn't fit the scheme as well. K-State has reloaded and done their thing. That team, even though you've lost some guys, you've got a tough schedule ahead, K-State was able to get listed at 9.5 alongside Utah. That is huge. And I'm not saying that K-State will be picked to finish first in the league at the preseason media poll. I would assume it's about a 50-50 shot. I would have said Arizona had Jed Fish stayed, but now that he's gone, I think that there's going to just be a benefit of the doubt in the minds of the voters to like, okay, Arizona will be good. Are they going to do it in the first year? Probably not. I think it's going to be between K-State and Utah. But it's going to depend on how people feel about Avery Johnson. From what I've talked about, everybody outside of Kansas fans, obviously Kansas fans are like, that kid can't throw and that kid's awful and, whatever the case is. None of us see that. None of us see that. This dude can absolutely ball out. I think he's a Heisman-type player, and I'm so excited to see him play. But probably going to see, like, not voter fatigue, but almost like a beginner's luck kind of fatigue, if that makes sense. Like, okay, yes, this kid was explosive. Yes, he made some huge plays. He, beat a top 25 team in the bowl game, top 15 team in the bowl game in terms of defensive production and stuff like that. But I think that maybe people are going to try to say, well, pump the brakes on this. We'll see what happens. Is it valid? I don't think so. I'm all gung-ho on Avery all the time, but it is really interesting to see K-State jump out as the favorite in the Big 12, at least in terms of FanDuel. Yeah, co-favorites with Utah. Sure, I'll give you that benefit of the doubt, I guess. But K-State getting love from sportsbooks, that's a great sign. And I know it's not everything to say, sportsbooks know everything that's going to happen. It's rigged. It's whatever. It's not all that. But usually, I've seen enough college basketball. I've seen enough college football games to see, okay, the spread here, it's 4 points. How is it 4 points? There's no way that you put a chunk of money in the opposite team going -4, +4, whatever the case is, and it's right on the money. They usually have a great feeling of how this type of stuff works. I would expect K-State to be listed towards the top of the league in the preseason media poll. I think that's going to be the top 2 spots. I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2, but I think it'll be up there. I expect Phil Steele, who does a great job. You should check out his book. He does one for each season and kind of evaluates each team in the league, departures, transfer portal additions, different things going on here or there. And he ranks all the teams in different leagues across the board. That's everything from the Mountain West to Conference USA to the Big 12, SEC, ACC, whatever you want to say. It's every single team. I would expect Phil Steele to put K-State up top. He's got a good algorithm that I feel good about, so it's something to watch there. But I wanted to make this video just kind of talk about it because maybe there isn't a call to action here, and I don't want to be exactly put your money on this, do this, but I just wanted to talk about it because I'm so excited that K-State seems to be getting the love that they deserve in terms of sports books, in terms of sports personalities, of people that are around the industry but maybe haven't focused on what Kansas State's done, what they've done in the portal, what they've done through recruiting, what Kleiman's done on the coaching staff. It's just a really great feeling to see the dudes get the credit they deserve. So that's pretty much all I'm saying. I know that's kind of a lame cop-out answer, but if it's up to me, this is not legal advice, whatever. Go ahead and take out a loan of as much money as you can, put it on the over, take 12 and 0. If you could get the over even higher, take a plus or minus 11.5, toss all your money in the over, and then if you lose your money, we'll all figure it out together. Just lock in, hit one sports parlay, we're back in it. So there's my professional advice to you guys. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. If you want to bet on this, bet responsibly. Bet what you're afraid, not afraid to lose, whatever the case is. If I were a sharp, which I'm not, I am the least sharp dude possible when it comes to sports betting. I am as close to square as it gets. I would probably look at West Virginia 6.5 wins and probably Baylor because I'm confident as a bounce-back season. The schedule, they didn't get boned with scheduling, so I would look into those 2 teams. Iowa State at 7.5 could be sneaky, but I feel like there's a regression coming. That being said, if you want to roll with the Cats, dude, roll with the Cats, baby. Whatever you do, do not bet the under. That is the one thing I will say. The one piece of advice I give you, don't bet the under on your favorite team. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't be that guy. You do not want to root against the boys, especially when Avery Johnson comes to town and is slinging that thing all over the yard, slinging the pill. We are excited to watch. I know I am as well, but don't be the dude sitting at the party that's a K-State fan. You're wearing a K-State hat and you're saying, well, damn, man, I didn't think they'd win 10 games this season. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy, pal. That's my one piece of advice for you guys, but I just wanted to talk about it and give you guys my heads up on that and kind of, riff on that a little bit. But guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I will talk to you here soon. Go Cats.